Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I want to welcome you guys back to the Conversation 9-8. We got another episode and truly excited again to be back before you guys again for another week, another topic. And just happy, man. Just happy uh, to be back on. Happy, looking forward to the conversation and the discussions for tonight. And overall, man, I'm just happy to be here. Life is precious, and I'm excited. Not only am I excited, but I'm grateful. I'm grateful. So thank you guys so much for your continued support, and I appreciate the support from everybody, man. I really do, genuinely do, and my prayers that all is well, and everything's going well for everybody. But tonight, man, um, looking forward to the conversation, looking forward to the discussion, and just looking forward to another day. Um, I'm sharing this with a few people. After I share it, man, we're gonna go and get right into it. There's no need to stop, and make sure you share this with people. Make sure that not only you share, but let me know where you're tuning in from. And hey, this is an interactive conversation, and I just look forward to really genuinely look forward to talking tonight. But hey, we got through all of that, got through all of the pleasantries, um, and we're gonna get right into it. Um, Tonight discussion it's going to be a real good discussion. I know I say that pretty much every week, but tonight discussion is going to be a real good discussion because this is something that I feel like can apply to a lot of different facets, a lot of different areas in our lives. So, and I think that it's a discussion that is necessary for us to have. But one thing about it is sometimes the impact you have will not get the recognition you may deserve. And I say that because a lot of times we put a lot of time, energy, and effort to things, and there's a lot of things people are passionate about. And people are passionate about things, and they'll put their all into it. And many times we will find in life that we may not get the recognition that you may deserve, and the impact that you have on something, you may not get the recognition that you may deserve. And that can be disheartening. That can be disappointing in a lot of ways. And it's not so much that you're doing it for the recognition, but sometimes, your impact that you have may not be the same as the level of recognition, because there's a lot of people that get recognized for things that they didn't really have an impact on. They just maybe get recognized because of the position that they have, and they get the credit for it. They may get the credit and the praise, but that doesn't mean that they had the same level of impact. And I know that can be frustrating. That can be beyond frustrating. And really, it can be beyond frustrating because it takes a lot out of you. It can take a lot out of you. One of the things with that is, we it can be it can be very hard to know that you had an impact on something. It can be very hard to know that you had an impact. It can be very hard to know that you have put forth the work. It can be very hard to know about a lot of things that you may have done, but you may not get what you feel like or what you may even earn or deserve. And in those situations, it can be disheartening. It can be disappointing. You may not get the recognition on the job for the things that you do. You may not get the you may not get the position, or you may not get all any other things that can come into that can come into to being recognized. You may not get it, but that doesn't mean that the impact that you had wasn't there. And a lot of times, one of the hardest things to accept is sometimes the recognition is the impact, because the recognition is the impact. And I know that it's not easy. I know that's not easy in the world where, one thing about it is we we live in a world where everybody wants to get recognition. That's a natural thing. We all naturally would like to get recognition. I know I do. We all naturally like to be recognized for the things that we did, and especially if you've had an impact. And I'm talking about a positive impact. Uh, but sometimes it just won't be that way. Sometimes things just won't align where you may be celebrated in that moment, and it's okay. And the reason why I say it's okay is not because if your motives are genuine, it's easier to accept that and rest on the laurels of the impact that you know you had instead of getting the recognition that you deserve in that moment. Because sometimes the recognition that you get is really in the impact and the long lasting impacts that you have on the others that you've been blessed to come in contact with. And it may not manifest itself right now, but in the long run, you will see it come. You will get the credit you deserve. My mom said, hey, mama, she said, we all want to be recognized. That's true. But she said, however, the recognition may not be on this side. Yes. And sometimes I want us to understand this, and this can be a hard pill to swallow. It can be a hard pill to swallow, and it can be something that is not easily accepted. But one thing about it is sometimes the recognition that we will get will not be paid in you being publicly acknowledged, but it's being paid in the fact that you have invested and you have poured and cultivated and planted a seed in somebody that can have a lot more impact on a huge number. But your job was to plant that seed. You may not get the credit for being consistent or being there or being that agent of change. You may not publicly get the credit, but the benefits and the impact, it will last longer. And now a lot of things about it is this: many of our legacies are left and manifested in places where you don't get recognized for the impact that you had. And it will not happen in that moment, but later on, it will be manifested through the legacy and the impact that you had on others. It will be there. I promise you it will be there. And I would tell you that don't get caught up in the trap, Don't get caught up in the trap of always seeking to be validated by what you do or the impact that you have in the moment. And I know that can be a hard thing to swallow, because it's not that a lot of times everybody like an attaboy, everybody like a good job, everybody like to be recognized for, hey man, that person is good, that person is competent, that person know what they're doing. But sometimes you may not get that. And don't become weary in your well-doing, because your impact is on the people and the interaction to the people you had, not you getting the credit for it. And that's what I'm speaking on, because sometimes those things happen. They will happen. You may not get the credit you may deserve, but don't be down on that. Understanding that you did the job you were supposed to do, and the impact that you're having on those around you have planted seeds, so those seeds can grow and blossom and eventually have another impact on others around them. Sometimes, and I know this is not the fun type stuff, but this is something that I'm sharing because, hey, I lived through it too. And I'm not speaking on something that I don't know about or haven't experienced, because, sometimes it can be hard, man. It can be hard to know that you did something and that you didn't do it to be recognized for it. You did it because it needed to be done, and you were doing the right thing. You was committed to doing the right thing. You've been committed to doing the right thing. But it is hard when you can do all of those things and still don't get what you feel like you deserve. And you can feel like somebody looking over you. You can feel like, you've been let down. You can feel like you've been overlooked. But I challenge you to say, hey, take inventory to figure out, what did you do? Did you have the impact? Did you have an impact? Because I would rather have an impact and not get the credit than to get the credit and not have the impact. And the reason a lot of people are wanting to get the credit and not having the impact, but eventually those people who do that, they will eventually be exposed for the fraud that they are. They will be exposed for it. And I promise you, they will be exposed, and it's not an easy thing. It's not a fun thing. This is not a fun thing. This is not a fun topic to talk about. This is certain things, especially I'm talking about like from a professional standpoint, or even if, we can be in different types of organizations. Now, I want people to understand this. I am in no way advocating for us to allow people to take advantage of us and use us, right? And that's not what I'm advocating for when I say, sometimes the impact you have may not get the recognition that you may deserve. I am not championing or even suggesting that we subject ourselves to being used by other people. No, but what I am saying is sometimes we have to realize, hey, I may not have gotten the rating I deserve. I may not have gotten the recognition. I may not have gotten that type of award. But what impact did I have? And the impact is what really matters in the end, because the impact is really about what you had on the people around you. Sometimes a lot of people get recognized for stuff that they ain't have no impact on the people around them. And that recognition that they get is empty. It's vain because they didn't do the work. I can recall this. I remember something. And some things I would say this, and this is gonna be good, but it's something that bring to mind. Sometimes you won't even know the level of impact that you had on people until later on, years later down the line. And that's why I said, don't get weary in well doing. You may not be recognized in the moment, but never sell yourself short about the impact that you have on the people around you. Never sell yourself short. Don't sell yourself short on that, because the reason why I say that is you can have a huge impact, and many of us have a huge impact on people, and we may not even find out until later on. You may get a phone call, maybe through a conversation, that somebody just said, hey man, I remember back then, hey man, you really inspired me based off of what you did. And you like, dang, and then that inspired you to do that and inspire you to go accomplish that. That is the reward. That right there is the reward. It's not so much in the moment. It's not. And I would tell you, man, it can be very discouraging. And I would tell you, I can tell you this. What's up, Chris? You want to say hey? Yeah. Say hey, just say hey to the people. Hi. All right. Go talk to Mama D. Okay. It can be very discouraging. And I can tell you what the enemy like to do. The enemy like to discourage us when things don't happen in the moment. When we don't get things immediately. We are so conditioned for immediate gratification. Immediate gratification sometimes can become the enemy to us because we seek to get validated in that moment. But sometimes the biggest impacts that you have, you will not find out until years later. And it's about the impact. I can have all of the accolades and all of the things behind me, and I can have them displayed. But what good are those if out of all of those accolades, I got all the accolades, but I have no legacy? Because legacy comes from the impact you have on other people, not in you being recognized for it. And I know that can be discouraging, but I just want to encourage somebody from that, because that is your impact is what really leads to your legacy. I'm telling you, your impact. Mama said I received several testimonies from people about the impact Oba had on them. My brother passed away last August, and my mom said that was very helpful in my grievance process. And that's part of a legacy. See, my mom said this. I can remember, and I can recall this. When my grandfather passed and my dad passed, two major male figures and two of my heroes in my life, it was years later that I found out the things that my daddy did for some people, that it would move them to the point to where years later they came and they shared things with me. And I can remember meeting one of my daddy high school classmates in a Walmart back when I was visiting Alabama, and she shared with me how my daddy was the main reason majority of his high school class went to college. And she shared how he him being who he was, how he just inspired them to go to college. And because they went to college, they had access to opportunities, which made a better life for them. See, if he was looking for recognition in that moment, he wouldn't have gotten it. But it's part of his legacy that led the lady years later to come back and share with me the impact that my dad had. See, that's the things that I'm talking about. See, sometimes you will not get the recognition. In that moment, you won't get that recognition. You won't get it. And yes, listen, I am not denying it. And I want people to really understand this. I am not denying it, but sometimes you will not get the recognition that you deserve. And other people will get recognized for things, doing smaller things, perceive smaller things than you. But I want you to understand that may be their Super Bowl. That recognition to them may be their mountaintop. You're just starting on your journey. So be encouraged. Just continue to be genuine and authentic in your efforts, and watch the impact that you have a lasting impact on those that you have been assigned to impact in those different areas. Man, look, I can recall different people that I know that had a tremendous impact on my life, and I've shared it. Coach Hazelrig, Coach Smith, people that was a part of my life that had a huge impact on who I am as a person right now. And I can recognize them because, look, they didn't get a trophy then, but I celebrate them now because I knew what they was doing and what they poured into me. And I can recognize that now. I can recognize that now and understand that. Dang. Valencia said, that's what the enemy wants. He wants your pride and ego to get in the way of your well-doing. You're serving, you're working in your purpose. Yes, you are 100% correct. And I would tell you, and I want to share this with somebody. What you working in your purpose will seem lonely, you will get discouraged sometimes, because the enemy will try to convince you that you walking in your purpose and you serving others and you giving to others and you pouring of yourself, it's like it's a lost cause, but it's not, because you may not get the recognition right now. You may not get that recognition right now, but you don't know what you've done and what God called you to do, and you walking in your purpose, how it can help somebody else, position you to pour into somebody else that will have a greater impact on other people. See, we don't know that. We don't know that, and it can become discouraging for us. But I want to encourage you, whatever it may be, whatever you may be going through, don't become weary in your well-doing right now, because you may not be getting the credit or the recognition you deserve. Continue to walk in your purpose and let your impact become your legacy. Let your impact become your legacy. Listen, I come from a family of educators. And I mean going back generations of educators. And I've seen so many people, and this is one of the things that I was talking about, impact. My grandmother was the elementary teacher to one of my high school teachers. And my high school teacher, Miss Nadine Ivory, always talked about how my grandmother was a big influence to her decision of becoming an educator. So I benefited from the fruits of my grandmother's labor that influenced and had an impact on a young lady to go on to become an educator herself, who in turn educated the grandson of the lady who influenced her. See, she may not got recognized in that moment, but we don't know what's connected to their impact. So rest assured and continue to walk in your purpose and let your impact speak for itself. Let it speak for itself. Be encouraged in it. I know it can get hard. I know it can get frustrating. I know it can. And listen, I can share plenty of stories, especially from a professional standpoint, about what you deserve. Listen, sometimes we got to realize this, and we got to get to a space to where we can understand that, sometimes life, it will not be fair. Things will not be fair. You may not get what you earn. You may not get what you earn, and it had nothing to do with you and your efforts. You may not get the rating. You may not get that job. You may not get the promotions. You may not get any of these things. You may feel like you're overlooked. you may start to get to the point to where you're feeling like you're being used. But I tell you, continue to walk in the integrity of your authenticity, and you being genuinely pursuing your purpose and having the heart to serve others. And what you will begin to realize is the impact that you have in those moments will last way longer than anybody that may even get the credit. Because what I've learned is there are some people that may get the recognition but had no legacy. So as soon as they left, they had no impact. Their legacy was their rating. Their legacy was not the impact of change or being the agents of change where they were. So you can get that and it can go and you can play that. But most people that do that, they end up being empty people. They live unfulfilled lives and they live empty lives that aren't fulfilled. So I just wanted to encourage you, whoever may be going through this, understanding that, hey, sometimes you won't get the impact you have. It won't happen. Mama said, operate in your purpose and the authenticity of who you are. Let your impact become your legacy. Listen, let your impact become your legacy. One thing about it is, and I want people to, man, look, in the age of social media that we have right now, we have a lot of people who in turns equate their impact based off of how many followers that they may have and how many people that may, what they're influencing. They call themselves influencers. And, a lot of them don't walk in the integrity or the accountability of that platform. But then your impact, you don't have to celebrate the impact. Others will celebrate your impact. You don't have to champion your impact. Others will champion your impact. You don't have to sit there and try to throw stuff up in people's face. Other people would defend that and champion that. Just like my dad used to say all the time, he served a God that doesn't have to defend himself. Let your impact and your integrity and you and your authenticity be that to the point to where you won't have to defend the impact that you have, because so many others will speak on your behalf because of the impact you had on them. So many others will do that. So don't be discouraged with that. Continue to walk in that. And because, man, look, in the time now, a lot of that stuff is vain, man. It's a lot of vain things. A lot of people I want people to really understand this. A lot of people only quote unquote support you, follow you because you are doing what they agree with or what they feel like, they agree with you in that moment. But let one thing pop up. And then they jump off ship and then they abandon you like, they abandon you like an abandoned ship going down the sink, like the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. They're quick to jump off on you. They really don't care about who you are as a person. They just want you to either perpetuate what their narrative or what they agree with, or you're representing something that beneficial to them in that moment. But I would promise you, if you have an impact and your impact is a result on how you treat people, based off of how you're treating people, people will remember that way longer than what you got recognized. Ain't nobody remember what you got recognized for, no trophy. They remember how you felt and how you made them feel. Seriously, 100%. I'm telling you, all of this stuff, and I think about it, man, it's like, dang it, we all want that. We all want to be recognized. We all want that. We all desire that, and there's nothing wrong with being recognized. I'm not suggesting that we walk around with a false humility, try to act like all this, that. No, what I am speaking on is sometimes we just will not, the impact we have on a place would not be recognized for it. Look, man, some of our biggest impact would not be felt until our presence is no longer there. And I want us to really understand that. Your presence no longer being there will show the level of impact that you had on the place. And the reason why I say that is because sometimes people don't value or really understand what you're actually doing or what you did for them until they no longer have access to it. And like the good saying said all the time, it said, you don't miss the well until the water runs dry. But at the same point, somebody had to dig the well. And sometimes nobody is thanking the person who had to dig the well, even though they're drinking from the well. So listen, sometimes your impact is to benefit others, even though you may not get the credit for it. But it leaves a legacy that employs and support life to continue to go on and flow from that well that God called you to dig. God called you to dig that well. Listen, I'm telling you, and this is something that is good. And I want to encourage some people who may be feeling down and may be feeling like, dang, you know, I've been doing a lot for a lot of people, and people ain't recognizing me. People not celebrating me, and it's not in this appreciating the things that I do. And I would tell you, look, there's a difference now. And I want people to understand. I don't want you to sit around and think that I'm advocating for it, but don't sit around and let somebody just fool you or use you, because some people will use you as long as they can benefit from it. But the difference between what I'm talking about with impact is you know you're walking in your purpose. You know that you're doing the things that you are passionate about, that you feel that God has called you to do. Walk in it. Sometimes it may not be what you think it is. Sometimes the biggest impact is not you getting to the highest level. The biggest impact is not you getting to the highest level. And I know a lot of times we can focus and we can have our own ambitions become the cloud there, but your biggest impact is tied into what you're choosing to do and how you treat people. Because people will always remember how you treat them. And that impact of how you treat them, you may not get the recognition, but because you poured that seed into them, they can go on and they can get recognized, but they know that, hey, you were the blueprint that they used to get to where they were going. And sometimes that is our reward. That is the recognition. That is the recognition. Listen, man, the greatest people, one of the things about it is, I want us to know that the greatest people that we know throughout history all had somebody, they all had mentors. They all had somebody they can go to. And we don't even know their names. But they were people that other people had an impact on them that encouraged them to go and do the things that they needed to do. But we may never know their names. But if it wasn't because of those people, we would not celebrate or even know the names of the people that we celebrate right now. Some things, some things, our legacy is tied to us doing things behind the scenes that we would never get credit for, because it's not about us getting credit. It's about God getting the glory. And God will get the glory in it because God uses us sometimes to be a blessing and be trailblazers for others to make it easier for them. To make it easier for them. And I want us to really understand that and really pack that in and really look at that, because it's, man, listen, man, this thing is getting good. It's easy. It's easy. I will tell you this, and I can look at it. You can look at it as that you can look at this as this saying. Thank you, God. Thank you. The Bible says a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. That inheritance is a legacy. That legacy comes because in order for the wise man to leave an inheritance for his children's children that will extend beyond a generation, he has to lay the foundation. And nobody sees the foundation when they look at the house. They just see the house. But that foundation had to be laid and had to be solid for it can last generations. Sometimes our impact is us setting the foundations so others can get the credit. We're looking at how big and how beautiful the house is. And they can celebrate how big and how beautiful the house is, but nobody is going to celebrate the hard work it took to dig up the dirt, to pour the concrete, to put the rebar in. But that is the impact. That is the legacy that passes on through generations. And many of us are that have to be the foundation for others in our family that will come after us. They will have to be there for others who will come after us. And listen, we won't, Our children will reap the benefit from it. And it's the same thing as they say this saying, and the saying is, if you look at it, the saying is, a wise man will plant a seed so that a tree can grow, so that somebody else can benefit from the shade. And that is what I'm speaking on tonight. Sometimes we're not getting the recognition, does not stop us from the assignment of planting seeds so others can benefit from the shade later on. That is the impact. That is the legacy. It is not always about you getting that immediate gratification. It is not always about that. That's not what it's about. And I know it can get hard because, hey, look, I did that job. I did this and I did that. Yes, you did. And I'm not saying you didn't, you're not deserving. But understand that it's not a slight, because promotions come from God, elevation come from God. But sometimes God needs foot soldiers down there doing the job and setting the foundation so he can get the glory. So that God can get the glory in it. I am excited right now. I am, yes, Christina, it does not minimize the role you play. Listen, and oh, Jesus, yes, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. The role you play is not minimized by the recognition that you're going to get. The role you play is not minimized by the recognition that you're going to get. And I say that because there's so many examples, but I want us to understand, do not be weary in your well-doing. You may not get the impact you have, may not get the recognition that you may deserve in the moment, but do the job anyway, because that can't be accomplished. That whatever the greater plan that God has cannot be accomplished unless you do that part. And it can seem small. It can seem minor. But if you don't do it, it won't come out right. If you don't do it, it won't come out right. It's like skipping a step. Hey, oh, it said add eggs. I don't need to add eggs. And you try to cook it, then it won't rise. It won't do the same thing. You know, or you get flour, but you don't get self-rising flour. Now you're trying to make some biscuits. Them biscuits going to come out flat and hard. You see what I'm saying? Those small things, add a little salt, add a little here. Those small things will eventually play a major role. It's the small things. Don't get discouraged, because that small role is the catalyst what took it over the top. And understand that God sometimes needs you to do that. And let's just take that into our lives, let's take that into our work environments and understand what is going on. Sometimes the impact you have would not get the recognition you may deserve. It won't do it, but don't let that stop you from aggressively getting after it. Don't let that discourage you from you to continue to walk in who you know you were called to walk in. You know, it is what it is. Sometimes people just ain't gonna, some folks just ain't gonna like you. It happens. Listen, I lived it. When I say I lived it, I have lived it. You sitting there working and you're doing things and you're supportive of some people, and them same people you're supporting and you're advocating for be the main ones working against you. Mama said, whatever you have accomplished couldn't have been accomplished if things were not in place for you. Do the same for others. Man, I tell you, I wasn't expecting all this. We're already at what going on 34 minutes of this, and wasn't expected to be on long tonight. But man, I think this was a real good topic, and one where we need to discuss and have conversations about, because it's necessary to have these type of conversations, because we all feel that way. Man, you can be doing right by folks, man. Look, we are called to encourage other people. We are called to do things, and some things you just won't get credit for the way that you feel like you're getting credit, but you're having the impact. And it's something as small as, dang, they were a good person. Hey, that person was solid. Hey, man, you know, that person was consistent. Man, that person was thoughtful. Man, I remember such and such. I do it right now. I still talk about, I've been in the Army 24 years, and I still talk about my first section sergeant, Sergeant First Class retired Lymel Marzette. I still talk about my drill sergeant Brian Davis, who was, when I commissioned, He was the person who gave me my first salute. Those people had impacts on me. I met them when they were staff sergeants, both staff sergeants. But now I'm at a rank that neither one of them was at. But their legacy live on through me. Y'all, you see what I'm saying? Their impact, their legacy. They didn't get the recognition at that moment, and they didn't do it for that. They do it to pour into me, and I'm appreciative of them, because I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for them. Embrace the role that you got. Embrace the role that God called you to do, and be that beacon of light and that source of hope and encouragement for somebody who needs you to be you, so that it will encourage them to fulfill their purpose in their lives. Man, I hope you guys have a great and wonderful evening, and I pray God blessing over you for this week. Go dominate this week. Have a great and wonderful day. God bless.